Stage name is The Poet Chef. I love being on stage. Like there's a theatrical element to my performance. I created this persona for the stage and that was The Poet Chef. It's like my mask. It started off, my inspiration was coming from just little everyday occurrences where I'd be like strolling along and I'd get a line in my head. My first line is my key into the piece. It's like I open up a door, like my first line lets me open up that door and then everything becomes really clear. Like I raced the rain home today and that was the beginning of a poem that's my mum's favourite poem I think that I wrote. Figures came out that the country had over 3,000 homeless children. It had just gone up over 3,000 homeless children. I was like, I really want to write something about this. And I was talking to then another poet that I knew, and I was saying to her like, let's just like write something and do it in front of the doll. Let's just like write something and do it in front of the doll so that it has to be viewed. Like I was so fucking angry. You know what I mean? As I spoke before about my first line being key. And I just thought, like, how do you sleep at night? Like, how, if you're the leader of the country, how do you sleep at night? So I just, that was it. My first line was, Dear Leo, I'm just wondering how it is you sleep at night. Dear Leo, I'm just wondering what it is you think of when you sleep at night, because I know you got these new roads, the cross-city trams and all these cycle lanes for bikes. There's all these new businesses opening and there's hundreds of cranes in the sky. The economy? It's seemingly grown to an all-time high, but what is it that you think of when you wrap up in bed so tight? How about Danielle Carroll? See, she was thrown out of her property back in December, and let's remember that she also had two sons. One was 7 years, the other just 20 months. All the council did was threaten her. It left her with no choice, at least in her mind, so she took her own life because she felt it was time, and as her two boys lie awake at night crying, should I tell them that their mother's death was due to the government's lack of trying? This has to be true. This can't have any holes in it. You have to go off and research this. You know, I wanted to tell the story, so I thought the story about Danielle Carroll, who's a young girl who had a family of two children, and who, because of her homelessness situation, the stresses became too high. She took her own life, and I thought that was incredibly awful and sad and poignant and just horrific. Her parents had gone to the paper saying like something needs to be done. We don't want our daughter's name to be forgotten. So I kind of wrote about that, and then I wrote about some children that were in hostels or in temporary hotels. I was trying to be factual. You could see that like I get very passionate with the subject, but I was trying to be as factual as I could. Yeah, and it kind of took off then, and it went viral really quickly and got taken up by a few different websites. They asked me would I do it in front of the doll. The day the doll came back after their break. So they asked me to do it because as Leo was coming into the doll, they wanted to give him this massive like envelope with my letter to Leo inside the envelope, and they wanted me to perform it that morning. So it kind of was weird that like I started off wanting to perform it in front of the doll, and then I actually got to perform it in front of the doll with all the TV cameras and radio stations there as well. If their mother's death is due to the government's lack of trying. Have you ever asked a child in emergency housing what they've done the night before? See, I have, and I'm not going to rhyme this part because I want you to listen. Instead of saying they were out with friends or inside playing with Xbox Online, they said they went to bed early. Are you sick? I asked. No, they replied. There's nothing to do in the hotel rooms, we'll just go to bed as early as I can. I'm delighted I did it, you know, because like from it there became a national day of remembrance for Danielle Carroll from it, where the first one was this year. Danielle's family was there and I got to meet them for the first time, and I was asked to perform the piece to close the ceremony, and like it was like incredibly emotional. I was kind of holding back the tears. The father was very thankful afterwards. He was saying like that her memory is there and that like she won't be forgotten. So dear Leo, when you sleep tonight, please think of this.
Natasha Helen Clinton.
Split my eyelids open to face the precipice you've dragged us to the edge of. Watch us plummet to the bottom of the waiting list. I was officially diagnosed with clinical depression at the age of 23. It was a tough enough time because I knew myself there was something wrong. Very shortly after I kind of hit my lowest point, my cousin actually committed suicide, and at that point I said, look, I need to get help for this, you know, before the inevitable happens. I need to stop the inevitable from occurring. There is depression that is linked to trauma. That's quite different to clinical depression. And people can understand depression if it's linked to trauma, but people don't really see depression as an illness in that respect. At least it didn't a few years back. I had a medical card at the time I was diagnosed with depression. Once the HSE saw that I was using that for mental health services, it was immediately revoked.
We are the ink lines smeared down the face of every page you rule. You can pretend we don't exist, but we are the bloodstains behind your pristine stats and figures. I'm state assigned a listening ear, uncomprehending of my language, let alone my fears.
I found that ever since I started with open mics, everybody has been so welcoming, especially the fellow performers, and we've nearly sort of become a family on the scene, and that's what I kind of love about it as well. When I began writing, I very quickly developed a collection, and then I decided, look, I need to kind of get this out there, so I thought what better way to kind of bring it to the fore than to perform it at open mic nights. Over the years, as I wrote about my experiences with mental health issues, I found it a great release, to be honest, you know, just to be able to write it down and let it go.
Stood somewhere between Woodstock in 1969 and Bob Marley and Date about 1980. How the fuck did I get it? Let me take you back.
I was always a writer. I had a great family and a loving family, but we weren't a family that necessarily communicated well, and so we always needed kind of an outlet and an outburst. Me and myself, I have a very addictive personality no matter what it is. So I started writing, first of all I just started writing stories about stuff that happened in my life to vent to myself and express how I felt. It's the art of everyday life. Life is an art form, it's a theatrical performance within itself. And then again, personal experiences are a huge inspiration to me. I find inspiration from things that I think the youth can learn off. That's once again why I focus on the drug culture in Ireland. So it's a huge epidemic, and it's an issue that I kind of went through for, even though I'm young, kind of a large part of my life. I started taking drugs when I was very young. When I was 16, I finished school at 16 and never went to college. But I dropped out of college after a really short time. I just found myself with nothing to do. No job, obviously, because I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do with my life. And it was drugs all night, every night.
Come here, right? This view that's in front of me, it's one of sheer and utter disbelief. See, as they all release their emotions from the end of a bottle, going full throttle on another late night session, these thoughts are depression that put to the back of the mind, but as they laugh, they make us blind to the truth. About 4 hours pass, and I'm trying to get some sleep. I can't get no peace because that renegade master is back once again with his ill behaviour on repeat in the kitchen while two people are getting knee deep in some fun adultery kept missing to the loved ones that they were hissing lies on the phone before they were bought over by 2 yolks and a bag of coke. I wake up the next morning and my fucking head is in bits.
Every story has a message inside of it. You always have to have a point that you want to get across during a piece, and that's where the message is. It's mainly driven by myself, my personal experiences. The way that I kind of see it is the character in which I portray is me as a previous being, or me 2-3 years ago. So people always develop in life and become different people, and I think 2-3 years ago I was a completely different person than I am now. But I think it's important to have a subjective view and understand that moderation is key, and understand that when you abuse something, it's destructive. So when I wanted to write stuff about it, I didn't want to be telling people not to do it, but I don't want to be telling people to do it. So you need to find a middle ground. The middle ground for me was educating the youth and saying, look, I'm not promoting it, I'm not telling you not to do it, I'm just giving you facts, and I'm just showing you what can happen and where it leads to. Yeah, so The Illusion of Perception, it's a fictional book, but it's based a lot on the lifestyle that I lived up until maybe last year. Yeah, I was actually really happy with how it went. We had a whole visual aspect to it that went great. And it's just a buzz, like, the whole reason why you get into it is just for the buzz. So the buzz was amazing, like, you know, and I got really great feedback off it, so I can't really complain.